back to Dancer Diaries. I hope you've been enjoying the last few videos. 5 ways to make your horizontal 8s more interesting, 5 ways to make your vertical 8s more interesting, and today we have 7 ways, yes, 7 couple more ways to make your hip drops more interesting. So there's so many basic moves in belly dancing, our figure 8s, our hip drops, our undulations and our shimmies, and once we've got those basics we can extend on them to add little layering or make them different and more interesting as well. Okay, so if you haven't learned your hip drops, firstly please learn those. I'll link a video to that below. Otherwise, remember, you start with your feet hip width apart, pelvis tucked in, chest up. This time it's nice to have one hand up, the other hand out. The one foot comes in front. So when it's coming in front, you're still keeping your feet hip width apart, but it's about half a foot to a foot in front, and we're coming into our hip drops, always accenting on the down beat to our music. First thing we can do to make our hip drops more interesting is add a release. This is another basic move. You will see it done a lot. It's really common in belly dancing, and it always happens on every second one, unless you're doing a specific rhythm. So it's coming down and then drop and release, down, drop and release. Remember, when you do the release, you're still doing the drop as well. It's not just a release, it's also a drop. So watch my hip. I'm coming down, down and release, down, down and release, down, down and release. You can see that hip coming down even as I release that foot. So that's number 1. Okay, number 2 is having the knee up. So this is a very kind of shabby style. I've done a video about this one. So for this one, I tend to use it especially in shabby because it's quite cheeky, especially if you're looking over your hip while you have the hip up or the knee up, giving a little smile. And this one, it works your balance quite a lot as well. Really fun move. You can bring it into combinations as well. So you can use it with the drop and release, so drop, release, drop, up, drop, release, and up. Or you can just keep drop, and up, drop, and up. So play around with that one as well to add it into those combos, especially in your fun, shabby music. Okay, number 3 is adding our turn into it. So remember, with this one, it's really important the placement of the feet. As I said before, you're having your foot hip width apart, but a little bit in front. As we drop, we just hold the drop. As we release, we're pushing off that foot, adding a little pivot turn. So it's drop and release, drop, release, drop, release. This pivot turn is really hard to do on this carpet. This is one not to do on carpet. But if you're practicing at home, keep the foot in front and you're pushing off that foot to get you a little pivot around. And it doesn't matter how many hip drops you do to complete the circle. If you're finding it hard to turn, then you can add even more hip drops in. So from here, I can add lots, just turning a little bit each time, bringing around on that foot and pivoting it around. So all I'm doing with the pivot is bringing that heel around. So if you just watch this foot, bringing the foot around each time to get you around the room. Okay, number 4 is working our hip drops with the rhythm. I especially use this in ballady. Some people use it in Saidi as well, and you use your hips to mimic the rhythm. This is really the only time where you'll do a release where the release isn't every second one. My favorite with this one is down, down, up, down, release. Dum, dum, duck, dum, duck, dum, dum, duck, dum, duck, dum, dum, duck, dum, tuck. So it's like down, down, so 2 down, so you're going halfway, full way, down, down, up, holding the up, and then down, release. Dum, dum, duck, dum, duck, dum, dum, duck, dum, duck. So that's another way that you can do your hip drops. Play around with different drum rhythms, see how you go with that one. Okay, next one, number 5. This is quite an advanced one. I wouldn't do this until you're really sure on your hip drops, and that is to add a lean or to add an open up. The reason why I wouldn't do this until you're expert at your hip drops is because it's something that you want to add as a little embellishment, as an emphasis. You don't want to be doing it all the time. So to add a lean, all we're doing is opening up to the side and leaning back. So from here, we can have our nice little hip drops, Still working our drop, but you can see from my posture being this way and my body being this way, I'm opening up my posture and I'm leaning back. And it has a much more relaxed feel, especially in ballet. This one's beautiful. Opening up. You see a lot of Egyptian dancers, Dina does this all the time, like these really kind of open hip drops where you're leaning back, keeping it really nice and beautiful. Okay, number 6, already up to number 6, is changing the arms. So this one, a little bit complicated, might take you a bit to get your head around. Remember, belly dancing is good for our brain for this reason, keeps us young. Starting with the drop and release, instead of having our arms here, we're going to bring our scissor arms into it. So one arm comes to the temple, other arm comes out in front, and every time you do a hip drop, you're swapping those arms. So just practice the scissor arms first, and then add the drop in. This is another one that I tend to use for shabby music. Actually, I only really use this one for shabby. When you're doing this, make sure that the arm is straight out ahead. You don't want it down or higher up. It's coming straight out ahead. And you can have the palms facing inwards or the palms facing down, whatever feels better for you. Nice and fun one. You can also combine this with the number 2 way to make your hip drops more interesting, adding little combinations into it as well. Okay, final one, number 7, and I would only do this one as well if you are really an expert in your hip drops, because again, it's not something that you want to do all the time, and that is adding a bend in the knee to make it more dramatic. What do I mean by this? So normally with our hip drops, our supporting leg is nice and strong. The knee might be a little bit relaxed, but you can see I'm not using that leg to get down. But if you want to extend your move and make it more interesting, you can add that. But be really careful, don't do this one all the time. You're only meant to use it as a big accent to make it more dramatic. How might this look? It might be down, 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 drop, for example. So it's really big movement, it's quite powerful, but again, something you don't want to do all the time. So keeping your hip drop strong, and then there might be an accent in the music, and you come down, and then you can come into something else, totally different. Watching again, I'll show you to the front. So here, I'm coming down, normal hip drops, and then down, bending both legs. As I come down, I'm bending that knee, but remember, I'm also doing the drop still in this side. It's not just a down, it's a down, dropping the hip, down, dropping the hip. So nice hip drops by themselves, and down, adding your emphasis. So there are my top 7 ways to make your hip drops more interesting. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already. And did I include your favorite hip drop combinations or your favorite hip drop variations? If I didn't, please write down what they are below so that I can share them with everyone as well. And as always, happy dancing.